My name is Sushant Gadgil. I'm in IEOR 190G for the spring 2015 semester with Professor Tal Lavian. This is the 10 great technological advances in human history, in my opinion. Number one for me is the wheel. It was developed independently by ancient civilizations in 4000 BCE. It revolutionized the transportation of goods and people, and it increased the productivity of agricultural settlements by allowing for greater automation. It really increased the connectivity and productivity of ancient civilizations and has had massive impacts for human history throughout. Number two is electrical lighting, originally demonstrated by Humphrey Davy in 1802. It was popularized by Thomas Edison and Joseph Swan by introducing a carbon filament, but today's tungsten-based bulbs were developed by Hungarians in 1904, receiving the first U.S. patent, and incandescent lighting was banned in the U.S. recently in favor of fluorescent lighting. Recently, visible light emitting diodes have appeared as the next technological evolution in the field. The electrostatic telegraph is next. A little bit of history is on the screen, but really it was the first major communication device for large distances, and it really increased the connectivity of people throughout history. Next for me is the transistor. This was really the first event where humans have become able to compute at a very, very large scale by creating switches like the transistor that can switch at very high speeds, which allowed for basically the building of high-tech computers, which is now the underpinning of basically the entire electrical society we live in today. Next is the printing press, invented by Johann Gutenberg in 1440. This was a really large technological invention at the spur of the dissemination of information at a large scale. No longer were monks needed to handwrite books. You could now write thousands of books a day and disseminate those to anybody and everybody in the world. Next is the internet. Built by DARPA, the internet was really the major stepping stone past the internet, or past the printing press, in the dissemination of information. No longer was it necessary for you to go to a library or for you to get a book. You could simply go onto the internet and have basically the entirety of human knowledge at your fingertips, especially with things like Wikipedia and Google. The information is simply no longer stored in singular places. It's accessible by basically every single person on the planet. Next is the steam engine. This spurred the Industrial Revolution, which leads to massive increases in productivity, but it also creates the ability for people to use steam engines for locomotives and for steamships, which then allows the connectivity of people to increase at a much larger scale. Next for me is steel. This was really a material invention for me that it really spurs basically everything that comes after it. It is really the underpinning of all of the steam engine, and basically every large major technological invention that comes after it is based on steel. For me, next is penicillin, obviously invented by Alexander Fleming in 1928. This is basically one of the largest technological innovations in the field of healthcare, because for once, antibiotics exist, people don't have to die from infectious diseases, and populations are allowed to basically explode. Next for me is aircraft. Orville and Wilbur Wright created the aircraft in 1902. This again for me is a connectivity invention. People had to spend 6 to 9 months on a steamship to go across the Atlantic, but with an aircraft, that time is now cut down to 5.5 hours from New York to London. So connectivity of people, face-to-face connectivity of people has never been